Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar today. Excited to have so many people signed up to hear about our latest leasing solution from 2G. So it's always a little bit strange to talk to your virtual self in these sorts of things. So hopefully I can be educational and maybe a little bit entertaining. So thank you very much. Today we're going to just discuss for half an hour a new product that 2G is releasing to support our CHP product, which is a lease. We've worked hard over the last couple of years to bring new and innovative solutions to our customers, whether that's on the service side with our assurances program, whether that's on the technical side with our hydrogen and biogas and syngas capabilities in our engines, and now on the financial side with a leasing product that we think is pretty attractive for a certain subset of our customers. I think everybody on the call should know 2G fairly well. We're I'd say the world's leader in renewable CHP, biogas, renewable natural gas, hydrogen. I think we have a really strong story towards net zero, where you can use an efficiency technology like a CHP engine and through a refueling strategy, really bring your carbon emissions down to zero in a lot of different applications. So today on the call, just an overview of how we think about leasing, and if there's anybody interested in taking advantage of these capabilities, our sales team and myself would be really excited to follow up with you. So, why 2G's lease? We think for profitable companies, we can offer one of the lowest cost ways to finance a CHP plant. So no upfront capital costs like many other financial structurings. And I think one of the most attractive parts of a lease for a profitable company is the tax benefits that you can take advantage of. And we'll dig into that a little bit in the presentation, but lots of really attractive depreciation and other tax benefits that you can take advantage of with installing our type of equipment. The lease is backed by the OEM of the equipment, so it does a lot of things from whether it's through the placement of the lease, making that a bit more streamlined, but ultimately somebody that's in the market for a CHP plant knows that we're going to support that product financially as well as operationally in the field. So I think it really says a lot about 2G's field capabilities that we're able to back a financial product like this ourselves. We work with people to optimize payment terms, and in all cases, when we lease a product, we want to include the maintenance as well. So when you couple our maintenance abilities with a lease, we think we can provide a lot of the same benefits that some of the other financing options in the market have. There are lots of different ways to finance energy equipment in our CHP equipment. We work with lots of really great financial institutions, developers, owner operators that everybody has a little bit different strategy to finance these projects, whether that's just institution or organization buying it themselves, straight loans into projects, as well as some of the electric and gas utilities provide some on-bill finance, and then ultimately power purchase agreements, energy service agreements, performance contracts for customers that want to evaluate different ways to finance. We think this lease product is really interesting. That being said, we do work with a host of others that we can work with you, the customer, to find the ideal financing solution. So the point of today's talk is to really see where and who a lease would be a good fit for. So in every CHP project, there's equipment, but there's also these really 5 big other design considerations. And 2G, while we will finance and lease a turnkey project, we're really not developers ourselves. So a company or a developer can come to us and take advantage of our lease products for our equipment. Every good CHP project has to think about these 5 considerations. What are you going to fuel it with? Is there a net zero fueling strategy you want to take advantage of long term? Is it a simple natural gas project, a biogas project, or how are we going to run the system? What are the electrical considerations, whether that's from a host site or a local utility perspective? There's lots of very technical electrical considerations we need to work through in a good project. thermally. Ultimately, the efficiency benefit of a CHP is to utilize the thermal aspects. We work with our customers to deploy the thermal benefit of a CHP into steam, hot water, and even chilling through an absorber, all which we can include in our scope of supply. Siting and civil considerations, where are you going to physically put it on the plant? They can be more complex or less complex depending on which site we're going to. And then, ultimately emissions. Every region that we do business in has slightly different emissions regulations. We also view sound as a really relevant emission that we need to think about. 2G does a really good job at packaging for sound attenuation, and I think it's one of our key benefits to customers that we can sell really quiet and unobtrusive equipment into the market as well. And then, how do we underwrite somebody for, you have a CHP project, you're ready to go. Am I a good fit for a lease? In any type of financial situation, you have to think about the C's of underwriting. Capacity. Can you pay this back? We're going to ask for, perhaps a project feasibility report. Are there actual savings that the CHP will show you on what you're spending today? And can we underwrite on your energy spend already? Financial statements, tax statements, financial performance of your business. Are you able to repay this? It's the first step we go through. Is there capital? We're going to ask for some bank questions. Do you have other places to go in the event of a default where the loan can be made whole, the lease can be made whole? Probably one of the more interesting C's is collateral. The 2G system is the biggest part of our collateral, a piece of equipment that we build, that we service, and we support in the field. I think this is one of the key benefits of the lease product, is that we're able to give our own equipment a very high collateral value in a lease, which makes the entire underwriting process a bit simpler. If we're going into a situation where we're asked to provide lease for more than just our typical scope of supply, we'll probably have a discussion around some other collateral that could be provided to backstop the lease as well. Typical conditions or terms of the lease, we're very competitive interest rates. The interest that you pay will ultimately come out of this underwriting process, but we've placed leases in the very low single digits to the kind of higher single digits interest rates, just based on who the counterparty is and the risk. We do look at greenfield projects. We look at pretty much everybody that has good character. We want to understand the business that you're in and what you do, and really the point of the underwriting process from our perspective too is to get to know your business and your character, and do we want to work together over the next 7 to 15 years on a project. That's key to how we look at it. I put two other C's that aren't typically looked at in underwriting, but we do not have a lease product that's capable of being deployed into the cannabis industry yet, or the crypto industry. We are engaged, I'd say, deeply across the financial markets to try to find good partners to help for those projects. But at this point, kind of given the risk profile and legal situation of those two products, we're not leasing our product into those type of projects, yes. But it's a pretty quick underwriting process. We can do it in a couple weeks. You work with myself and possibly some of our financial partners, and we set up a little data room, and we try to make this part of the process as seamless as possible. So we develop a project, we've done some underwriting, we said, yes, we can support this. Then we look to actually go and deploy that project. So in this example, I've kind of put together some indicative numbers on what a 2G project might look like for a theoretical company. There's the equipment itself, there's electrical engineering, there's installation, civil, utility interconnect, some small transaction fees, and a contingency for a project. So for this project, we're saying it's a $1.675 million project. How do we go pay for that, and what's ultimately the customer's impact? So first and foremost, we look at the tax benefits. So if you are a profitable company and have a tax liability to offset, there are really attractive tax benefits that come with this that you can realize in year one. So of that total project cost of $1.675 million, there's an investment tax credit, which is a dollar for dollar tax credit by the IRS for 10% of the project. And then these projects qualify for bonus depreciation. So a typical corporate tax rate of 21%, it's another 350 grand for this project. Combine them to, potential for a year one tax benefit of a third of the project, which is really attractive. It would offset any costs that you spent to develop it, your own personnel time. Really, I think really the tipping point on why a lease would be the most attractive financial product for most people. That again, not a lawyer or an accountant, so please talk to your own on that. But these are incentives that exist in the market that our customers have taken advantage of in the past. We enter into an agreement to deploy the lease in the product. There is a period of construction for these things, and this is typically a challenge in the financial world of how do you finance construction. We will wrap project delivery and construction into our lease. In this example, the customer qualified for a 6% interest rate. We typically just want to take that as monthly interest payments during project delivery. For really strong credit customers, public companies, companies that have really good balance sheets and cash flow statements, we will capitalize that interest. So there is zero money out of pocket until the asset's in production. But typically in the project delivery, we're going to want to take monthly interest-only payments. The asset shows up. We enter into a commissioning agreement as well, which is a separate service agreement. We go in, we commission the asset, and then turn it into commercial operation, at which time the service offerings would start to come into effect. So in this example, great customer, we capitalize our interest and just rolled it into the cost of the lease. And then ultimately, how are you going to operate this thing in the field? The lease payment in our mind really needs to be converted into a dollars per kilowatt cost to own and operate these assets. So a CHP plant, we've signed service agreements as long as 23 years. We've done leases as long as 20 years. The useful life of these equipment can be pretty long if invested well. A typical asset has either a 60 or an 80,000 hour major overhaul event. And we like to tie the first term of the asset to up to the first major overhaul. We think that allows us to defer the cost and not have to accrue the major overhaul in the total cost of the lease and defer that to the second half. So in this example, we're looking at a lease structuring that looks like a 7-year initial term with a rather large balloon amount. This is probably not as typical in the market as other terms, but what we do is defer this $437,000 balloon payment until the end of the first 7 years. So we run this asset for 60,000 hours over 7 years. The customer can just pay us the balloon or refinance it into the second term. And really what it does is it takes that 25% of the project cost and shifts it out of the per kilowatt hour cost of the initial. It keeps this rate really low. So 3 cents a kilowatt hour for this theoretical project. And then again, on the second end of the term, we take that balloon amount, we add a major overhaul to that, and we refinance it for another 7 years. So you could take advantage of a 14-year amortization of this project and really lower your kilowatt cost over years 8 through 14. So we go from 3 cents a kilowatt hour down to 2.2 cents a kilowatt hour for the equipment if somebody's resubscribes for that. A customer may just want to pay us for that and fix it up themselves and end the lease. We typically allow any of our customers to buy the leases out at any point as well. So there's really no prepayment penalty. If somebody who's looking to get a project going entered into a lease in year 3 or year 4, they'll seek to buy it out and just own the asset outright. When we lease a product, we do require a long-term service agreement that covers preventative, corrective, and basic maintenances. We call it our platinum agreement. It really limits the operator responsibility to just daily checks. We can provide operations as well. That's not a problem. Typically for smaller projects in industrial settings, customers will have personnel on site that can do the daily checks. We guarantee the availability of the equipment under this service agreement. We ensure that if it breaks down, we come and fix it, and can really guarantee the field performance of this asset in a way that I think when you just compare our service offerings to many others in the field, we go a lot farther in terms of risk prevention. So fixed monthly lease payment, really strong service offering. We can start to mitigate a lot of financial risk around a CHP project for a customer. And I think in ways that haven't really been seen in our market or our industry. So per hour operating cost here, it's $25 an hour. It's call it 2.5 cents a kilowatt. That's a monthly payment that you make alongside your lease under a service contract for the life of the lease. And then ultimately, how do you fuel it? Fuel is a risk that I don't think any of our financial partners take. It's one that's ultimately borne by the customer, but it's one that we believe that the 2G equipment offers the lowest cost and least risk way to fuel these assets. So first and foremost, highest efficiencies, both electrically and thermally available in the market. And secondly, the broadest range of fuels that can be consumed by this. So we look at this project towards a 2030 net zero goal as green hydrogen and renewable natural gas start to decline in cost. Natural gas and carbon start to increase in cost. We see this natural hedge built into our technology where somebody can go through a simple fuel switch to drive their carbon emissions down to zero. We work with lots of different energy procurement companies to help deploy this strategy for certain customers, but we think really enables our clients to long-term both mitigate their energy costs exposure as well as their carbon risk exposure. So depending on what cost you value carbon is really going to set the sensitivity of this entire chart. We're really excited to kind of deploy this model out into the world. Under our lease agreement, customers buy their own fuel and put it in the engine, whichever fuel is acceptable for it. So we've run through this whole example. Said customers got a 12-cent cost of power, which I think is a relatively broad swath of the U.S., Canada, and the Caribbean. Probably a lot higher in a lot of other places. We've assumed this is a fairly thermally utilized project. So at 12 cents avoided cost power, we can show a very low risk, fully financed lease solution with an integrated service offering, providing that customer close to 30% per kilowatt savings. In this example, it's a no capital way to save close to $300,000 a year in annual operating and energy expenses. So we're excited to offer this. This is this kind of little spreadsheet that I've broken up into lots of different slides is basically the analysis we go through with you, the client, to develop what a lease offering looks like. So engage with 2G. We've got salespeople in every major market. Feel free to reach out to myself. We'll help structure a lease, and we think it's a pretty straightforward, customer-centric way to put an offering together. So that really is an overview of our leasing products. I've tried to keep it as concise as physically possible for a person like myself, and hopefully I wasn't rambling on into cyberspace too much, and look forward to engaging with everybody. I saved a little bit of time here just to answer questions for people if they have them. Feel free to shoot them in the chat, and Kimberly, our marketer, will ask them of me, and we can spend the last couple of minutes just answering any questions people have. So Kim, I don't know, I can't see the chat right now. I don't know if there's any questions in the chat that I can answer over the next couple of minutes, but that's really it for the presentation today. So thank you, everybody. Oh, I think I see a chat. We do not offer a PPA. We work with lots of PPA providers. If somebody was interested in a PPA, we could help you place that through our networks. But we're offering this lease product. We believe this lease product has a lot of benefits to a PPA, dollars and cents wise. If that's something you're interested in, we can support it through a partnership. Any country, we are offering this as 2G North America, so the US, Canada, and the Caribbean. The minimum lease amount will be our minimum product amount. So we sell little 60 kilowatt units all the way up to very large multi-megawatt systems. So there really isn't a minimum. I think it's more of a question. The next question is there a unit size where the lease model is less attractive? CHP, I think, gets a little more expensive the smaller you get. It's ultimately going to be what your project looks like. So if you pencil the CHP project that makes spark spread sense, our lease product will be one of the lowest cost ways to finance that. Through 2022. So as long as the question is, have they been extended? Has the ITC and accelerated depreciation been extended? The Build Back Better Act was not passed. That extends it to 2026 or 2025. They're all available in 2022 currently. So buy fast and buy now. If we add our exhaust, if we add our organic Rankine cycle, is there waste heat exhaust? I'm going to defer that question to somebody more technical than myself. So whoever asked the ORC question, let's get in touch and follow up after the webinar to talk about that one. What is the annual maintenance required in downtime? What is the major overhaul and cost and schedule? All subject to which piece of equipment you're buying. We'd love to follow up and answer that question one-on-one as well. We will finance the turnkey project, not just the equipment. So we will the installation, shipping, commissioning can all potentially be included in the lease. Okay, unless Kim plugs any more questions for me, I really appreciate everybody's time today. This was fun. Feel free to follow up with us afterwards. Pretty easy to get a hold of. k.west@2-g.com is my email. If anybody wants to send me a note after this, happy to follow up. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll give you back a few minutes of your lunch break. So thanks, everybody. We really appreciate your time.